Breaking news, the Orleans Parish Communication District has a new interim director. Let's go live now to David Jones for the latest. David.
Liz, good afternoon. Yes, as you said, the 911 Center and the Orleans Parish Communications District do have a new interim director. Carl Fassold will take the reins of the ship here. Fassold has been with the Communications District since 2004. He was here before Hurricane Katrina, and when he talked briefly following his appointment, he was sure to go into brief detail about his experience at the district. He's worked here under 4 previous executive directors, has served as director of technology, and says he has no intention of applying for the permanent position. The board has engaged a national firm in the search for a new director, APCO, Association of Public Safety Communications Professionals. The board was originally set to discuss the future of Tyrell Morris. Morris has been embroiled in scandal for the past couple of weeks after it was alleged he altered an OPCD document following a car crash he was involved in while driving a city vehicle. The Inspector General has opened an investigation into what happened alongside an internal investigation underway here at OPCD. There was a motion by board member Dr. Brobson Lutz to have legal and HR look into the possibility of pausing or canceling Morris's pay or severance until the internal investigation is over, or if the results show Morris acted in the wrong, imposing some sort of fine on him. Now, Morris just stepped down yesterday afternoon just before the meeting this morning, saying the overwhelming media scrutiny on him was distracting from the good work done by the employees of OPCD. We'll have a lot more on this on Fox 8 News coming up at 4 and 5. For now, reporting live at the Communications District, David Jones, Fox 8, Local First.